That's cinema, baby.
I'll edit it better.
No, Mr. Wilson. I don't have to take that kind of talk from anyone.
That's right, you don't. How about going outside and trying to kick me around?
I'm not supposed to fight with the guests, Mr. Wilson.
I'm not a guest tonight, you yellow bastard. I happen to be an intruder.
You mustn't interrupt. You're way too beautiful for that.
Now that I know the movie, obviously the "you mustn't interrupt" is the monologue, but it's so problematic for us to turn into a soundbite for a bop.
Hey, we get meta this week. We're doing White Hunter Black Heart.
That's right. It's from our theme song. It's the Good, the Pod, and the Ugly.
Woo!
Yay. This is a film podcast where we normally pair films of directors and actors. But this season it's the Redux season, and we're doing movies we've already talked about, but with new contexts and new voices speaking about them. I'm Ken.
I'm Thomas.
I am Ryan.
This is our last.
We got somebody else here.
We do?
Ooh, Jack.
Oh, it's Jack.
Hi.
Oh, his nose was buried in the original novel, White Hunter Black Heart.
Oh, I understand.
Some last minute research.
I was actually reading the Wikipedia page for Nicaragua. Very interesting.
Nicaragua.
So this is part one of our last pairing for Redux. It is White Sniper Black Heart, I think is what we're calling it. White Hunter Black Heart paired with American Sniper. Two fairly infamous episodes, in my estimation, being the one who does this shit the longest.
Being present on both of them, yeah. And I'm sorry, my line read earlier was supposed to be woo. Like, not excited for the last two, but though I am, but just like exhausted that we have to go back and rewatch these fucking films.
My goodness.
Whoa, what movies were you watching? I didn't see any fucking in either movie.
Oh.
Well,
okay.
Maybe Cradley Booper's girlfriend at the start of American Sniper, maybe.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
There's some fucking.
So Ken, White Hunter Black Heart. We finally got around to a Ken pick, right?
Woo! Yeah, well, we did one 15, 17 appearances.
This is the last two, so yeah. Why?
Well, at the time I picked this, it was the one episode and one film where I was like, I can't be crazy. I can't be the only one who loves this movie. And you and Jack were very, very downbeat on it and did not like it. After listening to the episode the other day at the gym, I came home and told Jack I was fucking pissed at him because I just listened to the episode. So I wanted to rewatch it because I finally have a physical copy on the original episode. That was like, Thomas was like, if you like it so much, do you own a copy? I was like, no, I don't. And you're like, ha ha, like you got me. So now I have a copy, so I got you back.
So I looked.
Blu-ray?
No, there's no Blu-ray for this film.
That's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
The film?
Oh my god!
That there's no Blu-ray.
No reactions yet. No, I looked at it because instead of renting this film again, I really just wanted. I was like, screw it, I'll own it. Maybe it has to be a pack, like a 4-pack of like Eastwood's forgotten films.
Yeah,
and no, it's hella expensive, or you can get it on VHS.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Or you find it at the Retail's doggy thrift store for $1.99.
Well,
shout out.
The iTunes rental has been remastered, so somebody has a Blu-ray worthy copy of it somewhere in the world that they just haven't printed.
Interesting. Given the fact that we are now the only 4 people on the planet that have seen it,
this movie
it'll get some movement.
This movie is really popular with the people I follow on Letterboxd. This one has most of the Eastwoods we've done have a surprising amount of reviews on the people I follow on Letterboxd, who I didn't know were such Eastwood fans,
including me. You follow me on Letterboxd.
Shit, yeah.
Letterboxd is spying on you.
Post credits last
Was
episode that we
was
released.
that the reemergence of Panscan from like somewhere deep inside you, Kenneth?
I'm considering bringing it back for Squib season, but that's
I love
later.
that.
Okay, guys, we lost an hour last night.
Mhm.
Let's not fuck around. White Hunter Blackheart was made in 1990. We also covered the movies The Rookie, which was also a Clint Eastwood film that year.
Don't woo the rope.
Oh, it's terrible. You're right.
Sucks.
Dick Tracy, Men
Yeah.
at Work,
Whoa.
Deny the Living Dead remake,
Eh.
Postcards from the Edge,
Eh.
and Wild at Heart.
Ooh. Wow, that was
So you had
that
some
was-
options.
Damn.
That's a whole film fest for the whole family.
Yeah. Did you guys cover Dick Tracy and I missed it?
Yeah, Warren Beatty. We did
Shampoo.
Rat and Shampoo.
Oh.
Good pairing, actually. That
I
was
feel
fun.
like I heard the Shampoo. I just must not have made it to the Dick Tracy. I'm excited to go back. I've wondered if that's a good movie. The Dick.
Dick
It
Tracy.
is.
Yeah. The DT.
It's if you have it on mute in the background, it's fucking great.
That's how that in my mind that makes perfect sense. And when I close my eyes and try and imagine it, that's what it's like. Except, isn't Al Pacino doing some kind of crazy ass rat thing?
Yeah, but we're here talking about White Hunter Blackheart, where Clint Eastwood does a crazy ass John Huston thing.
Crazy ass
Yeah.
Houston thing. Yeah.
He's a
Mhm.
brilliant screw you all type filmmaker who continually violated all the unwritten laws of the motion picture business, yet had the magic, almost divine ability to always land on his feet.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that is
Oh,
the opening narration.
That is the opening narration. Again, so I haven't seen this film in a while. Surprisingly, I watched it only twice in my life, both times for this podcast.
Uh-huh.
I again was surprised to see somebody riding a horse thinking this was a period piece of from the 1800s, 1700s, and then see a plane fly above. And I went back and listened to the original episode, and the same thing shocked me then. This movie just does not set itself up for success, but that was pretty surprising to me.
Can I want to hear more about that, Thomas. I loved the opening, and I thought it was like a Lawrence of Arabia callback, which doesn't mean it necessarily works, but it worked for me.
Well, the other part about the opening, and if you listen to our first episode, we don't discuss the first 30 minutes of the film, I don't think, aside from like a continuity error. I think we just skip that to get to the part that might be relatively interesting.
The earlier episodes had a lot more brevity going for them than we currently do in 2025, but that's because there's more voices. So it's either a feature or a bug, depending how long you've been listening. Who wants to tackle the plot so we can get that out of the way? A thinly veiled version of the making of African Queen?
Yes.
Or right before, or the pre-production, really. This is not about the making of it. It's the pre-production of the African Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can try and take a stab. John Huston, played by Clint Eastwood with a change of names, is in England, and he's broke, and he's forced to make the African Queen to make some money to stay afloat. So he decides that the benefit of it is at least he can go to Africa and kill an elephant, and then he becomes obsessed with trying to kill an elephant to the cost of the production of the film.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes. And there are a lot of players in this that are based on real people. Marissa Berenson from Barry Lyndon plays Katharine Hepburn.
Uh-huh.
A guy, when he's not talking, plays Humphrey Bogart, looks just like him.
Uh-huh.
And Peter Fahey plays... I couldn't pronounce his name the first time, and I can't this time. Peter Viertel.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But the
that
character is Pete Viertel, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
When it's fictionalized.
There is another Humphrey Bogart. It's not talked about in the picture, but Humphrey Bogart is with his beautiful starlit young wife, who is Lauren Bacall.
Yeah, they do mention their newlyweds when they take a picture.
Yeah, and there's a great You Must Remember This history podcast about Bacall and Bogart, and a big chunk of that episode takes place simultaneously to this movie as that couple's getting ready to go to Africa, and then shows up and tries to make the movie. So it's a great double feature, if you like.
Okay, if you're bored of this podcast, jump on over to that one. Sounds pretty good.
Speaking of this podcast,
Uh-huh.
I feel like an amnesiac or something when we do these Redux episodes, because I don't listen to the original episodes because I have a no listening to the podcast ever rule. So I don't remember, like, you're talking about, like, oh, you fucking hated this movie. I'm like,
No, he didn't.
Whoa.
No. You said it was because you paired it with Billy Bronco, and you said that they were both mid movies. One was on the lesser side of mid, and this is on the better side of mid.
Yeah, but calling this mid, like Bronco Billy, is definitely mid, and this is one of my it's still one of my favorite Eastwood movies. Shocked. Probably the only other time I felt this on the podcast was when we were doing Antichrist, and I was like, who am I doing this with? Do I know these people at all?
Okay, yeah, because again, in that original episode, I might have to ask it again. I asked to you, Ken, I said, are you trolling us?
No, not at all. I think this is I think this is a masterpiece.
And
this is one of his best movies.
I don't agree with you. I don't like it as much as you do, but I 100% agree with you.
And as director, I think this is, before Unforgiven, along with Outlaw Josie Wales and Bird, really his three best movies before Unforgiven as a director.
That's
certainly
interesting,
his most ambitious.
I was really wondering if, having done, because this is the third season of Eastwood, remember you're getting into the 80s and you're just getting like bad film paired with bad film, if it was just an influence of like exhaustion of Eastwood overload, and then you saw this and you're like, oh, this actually isn't, like, just relatively this is great given other things. Or maybe having seen so many Eastwoods, you're like, oh, this has a special resonance for me because I'm seeing something here in Eastwood and why he took on this project.
I'm so surprised because it's like, seeing this, I am very surprised that it is not part of the canon, of American masterpiece. And this is the film, this pairing is the film, this particular film made me realize that I think Eastwood is maybe, I have a problem with the auteur theory, but Eastwood is the true American auteur. It's him and Scorsese, and everybody else is fakers, in my opinion.
Well,
so I'm just surprised that this movie, I'm not saying anybody needs to agree with all that, but I'm surprised that there was such a, you guys, that you didn't like it so strongly. You disliked it.
I mean, I agree that it should be part of canon films.
Oh my God.
Christ almighty. Wait, so I think what you were saying, Thomas, about like Eastwood burnout is actually maybe why I didn't like this so much the first time, because this was getting towards the end of Eastwood, right? For us. And I think, at that point I had just seen so goddamn many that they kind of all blended together. And I was like, it's just another one. But yeah, watching it again, especially having rewatched some Eastwoods recently, this is like would be his best movie if not for Unforgiven. This is like a total masterpiece. I don't know what the hell I was watching the first time I watched it, but I was not watching. It felt like I was not watching.
So I have
two comments.
Okay, go ahead.
One, Turncoat. Second, it must have been because you read the book.
Yeah, it's because I read the book. I don't understand how this is a book, and I'm very curious to read it now, having watched the movie twice and not having done my research both times, because I think the reason this works so well is that it is a movie, and it's constantly commenting on how it is a movie. I don't understand how it would work as a book at all because of that.
I think I can see. Thomas, did you read the book?
I did. As a kid, I think.
Is it?
I couldn't finish it. I can't read books of movies that I love because I can't get past it. Thomas had an easier time because he didn't like the movie.
Yeah.
Did you like the book?
I don't recall the book well. I didn't finish it. I was in Belgium and Amsterdam at the time, so it wasn't like it was my travel book,
Yeah.
like a paperback travel book. So a habit I picked up from Ken, just to have a book with me. And so if I wasn't doing anything else, I was waiting for something. Instead of looking at my phone, I just read a few pages. I remember it being an interesting piece because it is historical fiction and capturing just the logistics of what had to go on. At the same time, I think it gives a better definition to the kind of manic nature of the Huston character, which I think for me is a little hard to read in the film because Eastwood's portraying it, maybe because of Eastwood's persona, but also because of Eastwood his range as an actor.
That's fascinating. I can't think of another movie that I've seen anyways of Eastwood where where he's acting as if he's not Clint Eastwood. He's trying to do an imitation of someone else. And I thought that was really fascinating, particularly because he couldn't call himself John Huston and they don't look anything alike. If I saw it in 1990, I don't know that I would have understood that this was a reference to an older film. And then something I really do like about it, Thomas, which maybe is one of the ways where we differ on our conclusion, is I really like the ambiguity that I don't know what Huston is thinking at any given time or what he's going to do next, that he's just like so unpredictable. And it's not that he's manic and unpredictable, like you said. It's like he's this kind of slow going, crazy energy. It's fascinating. Hard to read.
I think, Pauline Kael said of this movie that Eastwood's ambition or Eastwood's skill as a director, this might be the first time it has outstripped his skill as an actor. And I think that goes to the one roadblock most people have seeing this is Eastwood's performance. And I think after you've seen it once and the kind of grading against you or bumping up against, once that goes away and then you just watch the movie and he's just another character in the movie, he's no longer Clint Eastwood. I think that's when the movie really opened up for me, because the first time you're just like, why is he talking like that almost throughout the entire movie? But like the 4 or 5 times I've seen it since, I don't even think about it anymore. He's just a great character. And I pick up things on it each time that I didn't the time before.
I very quickly before you speak, Thomas, I love John Huston's Chinatown performance is one of my very, very favorite in any movie. And I've seen that movie so many times that I thought he was doing a great job. John Huston is a very weirdly mannered dude. Like the way he talks, the way he gestures, like he sounds like he's from some weird European place. It's all very strange.
Yeah, I guess similar to Jack. Well, Jack said he watched the whole film and didn't realize it was based off of a making of the African Queen. And then I reminded him of Andy's theme song of that season where they mentioned the African Queen. And he's like, oh yeah, all that, I guess that tracks. I do think it helps going into the film, potentially knowing what the film is about, which is something I don't like typically. But I think the hardest part for me in this film is the first 30-something minutes before they get to England. I'm sorry, before they leave England.
Africa.
Before they get to Africa.
Yeah.
The pre-production stuff with Sam Spiegel, whatever his name is in the movie, and the investors.
And the woman who has an idea for a script that's about his dog. And
Forrest.
Eastwood's character's secretary. And a some type of burlesque show with an ape.
That was for the investors.
It's just it all of that falls very, very flat for me, and so it's hard to like when you actually get to Africa, things start to move a little bit. But Ken, what did you? Okay, so you've seen this movie more than the rest of us, willingly somehow. What? Well, first off, did you get the DVD or VHS?
DVD.
Does it have special features?
Absolutely not. It's about less than the special features on your Honky Tonk Man DVD. from our
Okay.
last pairing.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty similar.
And what's new, I guess. I'm trying to understand what you see in the film that
Okay,
I'm
so
missing. So I'm saying maybe what have you seen on the most recent viewing that has you appreciate the film even more?
I think what I never picked up on until this viewing was what an absolutely brilliantly written and performed portrait of a narcissist in How To with John Wilson, which is kind of funny. How To with John Wilson, that kind of. But how the early part where the love bombing, that's the early phase of narcissism, and when Fahey gets there, it's exactly that. He's telling everybody what a great writer he is, what all the fun they're going to have, and then the arc of pushing him away and then picking someone else up, and then the just getting rid of toward the end. I don't know if Viertel did that on purpose or it was just how John Huston was, because this was written like right after the whole experience, The African Queen. Viertel wrote the book.
Wow.
Similar to Ray Bradbury writing a book about writing Moby Dick with John Huston in Ireland. Anyway, I just found it like super powerful this time. And I don't know how I never picked up on it because, for like Gen Xers like Ryan and I, we've had experiences with narcissists. You Zoomers maybe haven't yet. But I was amazed how powerful it was, and I can't believe I didn't see it before. And it made me love the movie even more.
Yeah.
Okay.
I along those lines, Ken, I thought this was the most significant interrogation of the idea of an auteur, a genius auteur filmmaker that I've seen from an American filmmaker, because I don't know if Clint Eastwood loves John Huston's pictures and thinks all of this bullshit is worth it, or if he thinks, as you say, that John Huston's just kind of a charming asshole narcissist and none of it's worth it. But the way we give license to geniuses to do whatever they want when they make movies, I thought was really well captured here. And it leaves it to you to think about whether that's a good trade-off to get the art we get.
I've never seen the film in that way, Ryan. I've always seen what you're talking about, like giving license, instead being somebody fighting for their individuality and fighting to not be part of a system.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's definitely Eastwood's a huge thematic trend for Eastwood. So, and it is the inverse of, and that's what I'm glad you put it that way, Thomas, because I think this movie just shows you who he is and what he was doing and lets you be the judge of whether this is a genius, rugged individualist at work or a crazy narcissist let loose,
But when you say that, if I'm listening to this podcast and I haven't seen the film, I would think that the film was a greater meditation on on Eastwood's character, on the John Wilson character. And I just don't feel like I don't feel it feels very surfacey and episodic to me, as opposed to like a exploration. And maybe one of the parts that is always interesting to me, and I think I appreciated it the first time, and maybe not as much the second time, is that it doesn't. Like, I'm not sure where and if the film ever goes meta. Like, I don't know if Eastwood is trying to make a commentary or if he's just trying to depict what's on the page.
That's so I think.
And if what's on the page is also a commentary or not, or if it's just an adaptation of the novel.
Yeah.
I think not novel, but the nonfiction, the roman à clef.
I think he's trying to do both. I hadn't seen Honky Tonk Man before. And we saw that right before we watched this. I now see, in my opinion, that throughout Eastwood's career, he's doing the Western or the action movie for them, and then he's trying to do one for him. And all the ones that are for him are these episodic roman à clef type stories, or not roman à clef. The word Jenny likes, Bildungsroman, coming of age stories. And I think this is the first time that I've seen that he actually achieved that for me, where
Mhm.
and I think it is meant to be, I think, in fact, all of his films, except for Unforgiven, American Sniper, and a few others, are meant to be left open to interpretation, just like you say, Eastwood, where he's just trying to lay something down on the table for
Mhm.
you to talk about. And I think that's why he's not acclaimed, is because he's not coming in and saying, you must see John Huston this way, or you must think
Mm.
of Hank Williams this way. He's just saying, this is a guy. What do you think?
But I guess at some level, I would hope a director and an actor portraying a character would have a take.
I think
Is that
that's
part-
totally
is that-
reasonable. Yeah.
Okay, and him being both, I'm not too sure. For my money, I'm just not. I don't. There's parts of this film. Okay, so there's a part at the very beginning, and I don't know how to interpret this. And maybe that's just part of, it's however you want to look at it. But part of that grooming portion in England, the Pete Viertel character, played by Lawnmower Man, Jeff Fahey, has like an idea on the script, or he's read the script and he says,
Mhm.
I think the ending's too dark, right? Too
Yeah.
pessimistic. And then John Wilson, Eastwood's character, has a very tepid monologue and defense. And then at the very end of the film, there's an arc of some sort, it would seem, because it comes back where Eastwood's character, after inadvertently killing the guide who he feels like the spiritual kinship with, says, I think you're right, the ending's too dark or something.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure where that growth happened inside of Eastwood for the film, and how that was supposed to be, how that's supposed to resonate as a viewer. Having seen this twice, I still don't know. I hear that, I'm like, oh, well, those are words that go back to something else in the movie, but I'm not sure what the point is.
Well, the point in the story. So if you go to my narcissist theory of it, at that point in the story, he is pushing Lawnmower Man away, and that if you look at it very simply, and that's all it's about. And then the end. I don't know if it's a brief glimpse into self-awareness with How To with John Wilson, but he's actually admitting that he needs Viertel for the script and the movie to work.
Huh.
So I don't know if it has anything necessarily to do with the plot of African Queen having a downbeat ending versus a happy ending. But what he's saying is, I do need you after all.
Okay. So he's
Because if
grooming
it-
somebody
if-
new. Is that what?
Yeah,
is that,
that's
is
what
that
Ki-
the
that's what Ki-
interpretation?
That's what Kivu was. Kivu was the new How To with John Wilson. That's what happens. And by the end, he's like, I don't believe narcissists ever have a bit of self-awareness like Eastwood's How To with John Wilson does in this movie. But yeah, I feel it every time, and I guess I couldn't articulate it before.
I agree or disagree with you guys. No, I think you're right on, and what I found really interesting this time is that this is a movie about Dick.
Fair.
About Dick.
Say more.
Eastwood, his character is a man who can't finish. He's always starting things. He's starting relationships with these women, and he starts, this film, which we know in the real world he finished, but in the world of the movie, we only see him start it. We don't see him finish. And he starts hunting, but he's not able to finish. And I don't know what any of that means, but I found it very fascinating. He starts the fight. He's not able to finish it.
Yeah. When he's
Wow.
talking to the writer at the beginning about what the writer's missing about the ending, he makes reference to Hemingway and how simple Hemingway was. And he calls out like 4 themes that Hemingway is always dealing with. I don't remember the others, but one of them is impotence. And that was something that Hemingway, so maybe that's meant on the writer's part in the novel or in the screenplay adaptation to drop a clue to what you're saying.
So I don't think those things. I think Jack is right on with why those sequences work, even though the episodic nature Thomas bumps up against in England or Britain, whatever you want to call it. But they feel like they work as a whole, and it's interesting. The last these last four movies, how episodic they are.
Yeah.
Like Honky Tonk Man, the 1517 to Paris, this one, and then American Sniper. None of them feel like a classic 3-act beginning, middle, and end, midpoints, etc. And that's one of the things I think when we finished these Eastwoods, where I really liked his. They weren't all simple 3-act structures that went through the same ringer that all movies go through. That he would take a movie that would normally be polished, like Unforgiven, and tried to, and then it couldn't, went back to the original. And it's a really weird structure. This movie is a really weird structure. The other movies we've talked the last couple of weeks, structurally, they're very weird, and they're a little odd in 2025 watching them.
Yeah, hyper odd in the current era.
I don't know that this is that odd structurally. I mean, it's a very linear movie.
Yeah, but like the stuff with the lady pitching the dog movie stuff with what's that? Horace. Yes.
Actually, sounded like a pretty good movie. I would watch that.
If it was done with live animals, I would watch that. Not an animated movie. Not CGI, but the Horace movie sounds pretty good. So another thing I wanted to bring up is Thomas, you mentioned with Honky Tonk Man and the 8 movies having some of that, something like kissing cousins humor or
lead paint humor.
This, as director, the only other time, this might be the first time where it is not lead paint humor, but this is a really funny movie. And I think we didn't talk about it that much the first time we talked about it, or this time. But this is a really supremely entertaining and funny movie. Most of it coming from How to John Wilson's character. He's hilarious for the first 2/3 of the movie.
I think he's really funny, Ken. I agree with you, Ken.
What?
Yeah. That the ugly bitch speech.
Oh, this is the best Schadenfreude of the entire podcast right now.
The ugly bitch speech is it's crude, but it's one of the funniest and most incisive things I've ever heard one person say to another person in a movie. Like, I loved it. I thought he was very charming, as obviously an asshole. I would love hanging out with John Huston. Like, personally.
Yeah, I think this is a funny movie.
Well, that's the fascinating thing about that character, besides being a narcissist and not being able to finish anything, that I kind of figured out watching it this time, is that he is an extremely violent man, but he's only able to be violent through his verbal interactions with other people. And when he actually tries to carry out violence in like the physical sense, he's never able to do it. And I think that's something I Thomas, you were saying earlier, if Eastwood has some deeper awareness of this character and whatever the meta story that he's telling, or if it's just he's shooting what's on the page. And I really think that this is the movie, besides Unforgiven, that he has the most awareness and like love for the deeper themes in the source material, because I don't see otherwise why he would make this movie at all and insist on playing the character himself, because it's not a very good performance. It would be probably a much better movie with someone that looks and talks more similar to John Huston playing that role, but it's Eastwood's clear like love for this character and really wanting to play that role of like this director that has all of these being an auteur as an excuse to be an asshole because you're a genius, things that Eastwood might be a little afraid of having within himself.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's why he has to be in this, and that's why he has to make this movie.
For me, the ending was in the middle of the movie, and I only realized this while Ken and Jack were talking about their interpretation, so thank you for that. In the middle of the movie, the writer talks about his reaction to seeing the elephant and its beauty, and part of the earth is how the monologue ends. Like it's something kind of sacred. You shouldn't fuck with an elephant. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's what I thought Eastwood's character realized at the end, and then for him to realize that, and then to see this earthly power destroy Kivu, who he thought was the only good person in Africa, for his dalliances with danger. I thought by the end of the movie, he was saying, we need to change the ending because now I've experienced the danger that I'm always talking shit about. And it's actually a lot more fucked up than I knew. And we don't need to flaunt that out in the world, like with the way this picture ends. We can keep the black heart of the white hunter out of the picture.
Wow.
But I only realize that now. It's all just riffage. So
No, that's good stuff.
Wow.
I mean, another thing is I don't know how I think this is a kind of recounting of what happened, and I don't know about these modern themes of status and abuse of status, where Eastwood's character is basically using his status as a world famous director to humor and then fuck the brains out of the Horace lady.
yeah.
And that's not cool.
Yeah.
And his ability to regale these people with stories in high society and then take them down like he does the goddamn ugliest bitch monologue. He would not be able to do that if he was just like me at my brew pub talking to a stranger. But because he's How To with John Wilson, he has that place, and see him kind of taken down from it through the course of the story is just another element that I appreciate about the whole thing.
Yeah, another thing that I wanted to point out about that is that twice in a row, actually, I think he uses racism as an excuse to be violent.
Yes.
Like he's not actually defending the Jews. He just wants to call that lady a bitch, and that's his excuse to be able to do it. And he doesn't actually care about the black lobby boy that's being beaten up. He just wants an excuse to beat the shit out of someone.
Which he doesn't. That actor who plays the White Lotus general manager, White Lotus season 4, needs to take place in Africa, and they need to get that guy to play the general manager because he is such a great antagonist for the short bit of film he's in it. The soccer match.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mike White, White Lotus season 4. Hit me up, buddy.
Thomas, the last we heard from you, you were laughing hysterically, I think, at our takes.
Did you die?
I think I did have a hemorrhage in my brain. I agree unreservedly that the Wilson's takedown of the ugliest bitch, Miss McGregor, the anti-Semite, is great. It's done well. Like, it's captivating. I'm not too sure if it ever really gets to the point of humor, like really elevated to the point of humor. And then I don't know what else is funny in this film. I just, I was not laughing either time. I wouldn't mind laughing, but I just don't see things being very funny in this film, including the most lead paint moment where the monkey steals some of the script. And they're like, "Oh, that's the funniest thing on earth I've ever seen." The monkey destroying our script. Oh my goodness, that guy, he's a stiff shirt, and the monkey stole the script.
I don't think that scene is funny.
I think it's horrifying. Hey, nice.
It's horrifying. The close-ups of everybody are all sweaty and drunk.
And then the guy says, "Make sure to hit him in the brain" or whatever. Eastwood's aiming the gun at the monkey.
Yeah,
it reminded me of Cabaret.
Ooh.
Oh, fascinating.
Which
Love
part?
Cabaret. With the monkey.
Oh, okay.
No, which part of Cabaret?
No, just like all the close-ups of the people laughing at this
okay.
horrific thing that they're seeing.
The reaction shots from the audience.
Yes.
In Cabaret. No, but they're laughing. And I think the scene is played for humor. I don't think it's played for horror. But I'm just like, I didn't find the film funny. I was just curious what you might have thought was funny in the film.
Yeah. Thomas, what about Peter Pettigrew flying the airplane and almost crashing? Is that lead paint humor, or is that funny to you?
I mean, it's
It
lead
works
paint
because of the
humor.
punch. It works because of the punchline.
Yeah.
When you're watching it, you think it's lead paint humor, and then the punchline is, how to a John Wilson was just fucking with you. I knew what I was doing all the time.
Yeah, and so that was funny.
Well, maybe funny is not the right word. I think amusing.
Okay.
I find it amusing. I'm not like on the floor laughing, pausing it like the boss of it all. That was a funny movie, but this one is, I would say, amusing, and it keeps everything that feeling a little light. And I think the balance of keeping it a bit light until it gets dark toward the end. I think it's brilliant.
I will say I laughed more watching this than any other Redux movie we've watched.
More than Death Becomes Her?
Yes. Much more. But we know that I have a Zemeckis problem. It's my problem. It's not his.
So Squib season's going to be 2 hosts, I think.
Wait, which two?
Well, I might have to. If Ryan's part of it, I might also have to leave. So, wow, that is a take, sir. So I do enjoy. I mean, there's things in the hair which are like, when I say enjoy, like I'm not bored and I'm not angry having to watch it. So like the soccer game isn't terrible, but it's not like good. It's just not terrible, and so I just don't. I think that there must be some meta thing that's being brought into the film, or some appreciation of Eastwood, or of the African Queen, or of John Huston that I don't have, that has this fall flat for me. Because I just, on the merits of the film itself, it's hard for me to see. I guess I'm so distanced from the narcissist character that by the time something happens at the end to people, and he just immediately goes, like, ignores the guide's family and his tribe to continue shooting the film. It doesn't have a lot of resonance with me. So it just has to be something there that I'm not latching onto. It hasn't got its hook in me.
I definitely think that is the danger if the approach is intentional, as I would posit that it is. I think the danger with presenting such ambiguous material, stripped of score and stripped of a strong camera POV on the main character, the danger is that somebody sees it and they're like, that's nothing. I just looked at nothing, So I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering, watching it, if it'd be better if like Harrison Ford played the main character, or somebody with a little bit more charisma or range, or just doesn't have the baggage of Eastwood. Because Eastwood is a director and he might be trying to comment on something, however ambiguous it is, but also maybe there might be a different actor who could carry the film.
Can we stop by? Jack, you had something to say, but we can stop by Ryan's Galaxy Brain Corner to address what Thomas just said.
Yeah, I was just going to say really quickly, I think imperfection is a big part of what I love about movies. And someone just won an Oscar for a performance where they used AI to get his voice even more perfect in post-production. And I don't think we should be doing that. I think we should have the, the fingerprints on the whatever. That's a whole other discussion.
I agree. I can name my top 5 favorite movies of all time, and then I could immediately tell you all the parts that I always, the imperfect parts, the fingerprint parts. It's the stunt man on the horse in Barry Lyndon that's supposed to be his kid. I know it's a stunt man because it doesn't look like a little kid. But it doesn't bother me, because it's part of what else are they going to do?
You're watching a goddamn movie. You're watching people pretend they're other people. It's going to be a little silly.
Yes.
It's not that serious.
Exactly right. You nailed it. Yeah.
Wow. I love it.
Yeah.
I think Eastwood is in this role because I think one way to read it, I don't know that this is at all what Eastwood intended. Eastwood, I think, works well in the main role because John Huston was one of the original auteurs that the French identified when they were defining the term. And when they defined the term, what they were trying to capture was Hollywood mostly produces genre pictures that are interchangeable, but every once in a while, a director, writer comes along, and that person is able to make something in an anonymous genre like a Western or an adventure picture and imbue it with thematic and visual motifs that make it recognizable as a single artist's work. So John Huston is an original auteur. Eastwood's making this movie at the end of the 80s when Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese, George Lucas, Brian De Palma, all of those new Hollywood guys have redefined auteurism in America as an enfant terrible, or terrible, I don't know how you say it, a narcissistic maniac is allowed to do whatever is necessary to pursue their perfect vision of a film. And Eastwood has never made pictures that way. Eastwood makes movies in the old Hollywood style. And I think in the sense that this is a dick movie, Eastwood is low-key laying his dick down on the table and saying, actually, I'm the only auteur because I make studio pictures that all have this episodic pacing and weird music and weird performances. And I'm always talking about rugged individualism and my pet projects. And I'm not abusing anyone. I don't know what Eastwood's life was like behind the scenes. I know he had troubled relationships. Maybe that part is woefully misguided of me to impose here. But he's not out in the middle of the Filipino jungle, like using a totalitarian military to destroy the environment and torture Martin Sheen to make an amazing movie. That's not something that Eastwood is doing. And Huston, to an extent, he's saying, like, is it worth it? You have this guy who is talented, very charming. You give him $1 million and let him call the shots. He takes a bunch of people out to Africa and kind of mentally fucks with them for 6 months. And then the movie comes out and we decide it was all worth it. And I think Eastwood's just showing you that process and saying, what do you think? Is this guy okay? Or is he kind of suck? You know?
And what do you think, Ryan? Is he okay or is he kind of suck? I'm talking about How To with John Wilson.
Yeah. I think Huston, I don't like, no, I like some of his pictures. I don't think that behavior was justifiable. And personally, I think Eastwood would agree, although, as we've discussed, the movie is very ambiguous. I can't point to any single scene in the movie or line that makes me say Eastwood is judging this character the way I am judging him.
Huh.
You know?
I think that's fascinating. Like, if I were to watch the film with that idea or that kind of lens, I'd have had a little focus on whether or not as Eastwood not following this idea that he's portraying on screen. It seems like he's too the idea of pushing up against the system seems so Eastwood. The ability to set the monologue that we all like, where he against the anti-Semite, where he's able to say something without actually saying it, is just. I mean, it feels like the 70s Eastwood style of humor. Like everything, like it's hard to say that the film is a critique or even like a character study at times for me, especially with the opening voiceover by Fahey, like praising this person. And I think that's the scene that I've always I bump up against. I think is what Eastwood is saying as Eastwood is whenever the Wilson character talks about being whores in Hollywood. He's like, "Oh, you use that when that word comes out of your mouth, it sounds pejorative," or he says something like that. The tone of your voice when you say it sounds like a dirty word. And he talks about all these people trying to put together a show and how we're all whores at some level. That feels like Eastwood genuinely saying that, but I can't tell after the film. and I'm not sure it floats into your galaxy brain thing.
So as far as the opening narration goes, I go back to my Senate hearing theory of senators who, before they talk to somebody who is before them, they will always go over their service, what a great job they've done protecting people in this country, what patriots they have been throughout their entire career. And then they will then proceed to grill them about why they're fucking yellow traitors.
Yes.
They always start with you know what, you're really great and you've done all these great things. And I almost feel like that is an opening feint by Viertel in the script and maybe even the book, where it's like setting him up to be that and then proceeding to take him down until the very last scene where he's a completely broken human being after Kivu was killed.
It's the Marcus Aurelius speech about Caesar from Julius Caesar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the I came here. He starts the speech. Yeah,
we're getting to Shakespeare now.
Yeah, but
Sorry, Thomas.
I love the Senate approach. I because that is what senators do.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see that if it was actually a coming of age story for the Viertel character, the Jeff Fahey's character. Like there has to, like, he can't split with them so early in the film and want to leave and take off and be told he's the adult and has to take care of them. Like it just doesn't, like he knows that from like very early on in the film, and so that's not like, it's not like a realization for him as maybe a surrogate for the viewer. It seems like it's there too early for that, like the voiceover to work in a way for me. And he's like so admirable. Like he has such admiration for Eastwood being able to bed that woman in England who has the dog script. Like it's,
yeah.
Like I hear what you're saying. I just don't see it it's hard for me to see it in the film.
I definitely think that character is maybe the messiest through my reading, that it's intentionally ambiguous, because I do think he's supposed to be important, and I don't think Eastwood gives you enough. I was going to ask you guys, relatedly, there are 2 times in the movie, one at the very end and one in the middle of the first elephant hunt, where Jeff Fahey has just delivered a monologue and then he looks directly at the camera before the shot cuts. And I'm not sure. I think whatever he's trying to do with that character and the opening narration, Thomas, those looks to camera are meant to be part of that, but I don't know what it's about, having seen the movie once. So I see where you're coming from with that for sure.
So maybe, I mean, yeah, I guess it could be the Fahey performance, or it could be Eastwood's direction of the Fahey character. It's an interesting, I think we're talking about this a lot more for the next film, where my head gets really blown up. But when you say like, oh, well, that's what happened, so we need to show it, is interesting whenever it's a fictionalized account of something.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot to say about that for American Sniper. So I don't know. I mean, I think the other messy part there is not only was Peter Viertel the writer of the book, but he's also the writer of the screenplay.
Yeah.
And so he's a character in the movie that he's also a screenplay for. Fortunately, he doesn't give himself all the coolest stuff. Like he doesn't take down a squad of ninjas or something, or invent snowboarding. He doesn't like. But I think there's something that's lost, because I think he's supposed to be the point of view character in the film.
Yeah. Agreed.
And it doesn't quite work out that way.
No. I can totally. I think I think that's real. I think that's a good criticism.
Okay, so we've been going for almost an hour. I'm curious, something you said at the very top of the episode, Ken, and I think it's only going to help that it's been this long. You said listening to the original podcast, you were angry at Jack. There were two people on that podcast with you.
Yes.
One person had an even worse opinion than Jack did of this film.
Yes.
How are you feeling?
This was the movie that inspired me to want to do the Redux season. This is the only reason it came up, because I wanted to rewatch it, because I really felt, and I was hoping that both you and Jack would rethink the movie, and well, Jack clearly did. And I honestly didn't know if Ryan would hate this or love it. I knew it was going to be one or the other, and I was really curious about his take. But Jack was there, so I said I was mad at you. I was kind of joking because I just listened to it. It wasn't like I tried to punch him or something. But no, it was just, it gave me the feelings like I thought I was crazy. You might be feeling the same thing right now, where you feel like, why do these three love this movie so much and I'm not getting it? But that's really what I felt the first time. It was like, am I crazy? Is this really a bad movie? So I really wanted to revisit it both for myself and for you all to see if I was crazy.
Thomas, I can this is what it felt like whenever I walked around and spoke to literally anyone about Oppenheimer, so I feel you.
Yeah, but you also didn't say that Clint Eastwood was wearing his hat backwards. I think Clint might be losing it. I think Clint... No, okay, well, how about this? I was going to say, it doesn't sound like the other two hosts necessarily love it, Ken. But while we hold off, and next week, hint, hint, wink, wink, we can rank our films, and then we can see how much they love it relative to other things.
Okie dokie. Yeah. All right, does that mean we're done with White Hunter Black Heart? Any final thoughts?
Well, I'm so glad we rewatched this.
Okay, good.
And it's now one of my favorite movies I have ever seen, Thomas, to answer your question.
It's up there with Cats.
Whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to think about this one for a long time. And we'll get more into it more with rankings, but just as with Robert Aldrich, my discovery of Clint Eastwood, who I'd seen a shit ton of movies from before, has been really wild for me during the Redux episodes. I love that we went back and watched these.
Wait until next week, Ryan.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm going to go... Well, let's wrap this episode up, and then I need to run to the shooting range with an old buddy of mine.
You're
I need to put my...
And thank you for your service.
Make sure you leave your 6-shooter on that little ledge above the door when you do. Because Jack's going to probably be playing some video games in the other room.
Okay, that was it for White Hunter Black Heart.
Roseanne Barr?
Roseanne Barr totally has to play Kivu. It's not even close.
Oh my God.
It's like where Kivu says that there's some elephants over there. It's a big tusker.
Hot take. The ambiguity problems would be solved if Roseanne Barr was playing John Wilson.
And we know from She-Devil that she has range. So
yeah.
this might we know from the national anthem she does have range. Yeah. What about the Bob Dylan song? Do we have a Bob Dylan song, Jack?
Well, I'll do you one better. I don't have a Bob Dylan song, but if this podcast episode about the movie were an event in the Bob Dylan canon, it would be when he went electric and someone shouted Judas, because that's basically what Thomas said to me at the top of the episode.
Yeah. Wow. Whew.
All right.
What
Very
minute
good.
next? Great job.
There's a tusker. Only one more of these Roseanne Barr things to go.
Oh, no. I think this is going to be an ongoing bit.
For Squib season, I am all for it.
No. Bring back Margaret Thatcher.
Why not both?
Hello. Shut up, Margaret Thatcher. It's hiding under the desk.
What if Roseanne Barr had played Margaret Thatcher?
It's morning in America. We're bringing Thatcher back. Come on now.
All right, see you guys next week for American Sniper.
Thank you, Ryan, for the theme.
Yeah, Ryan, great theme song.
Yeah.
Thank you, Clint Eastwood, for making the movie that has the soundbite from our theme song.
And follow us on social media.
Oh yeah, all the social media that Ryan is posting on like crazy.
We're posting again. We're back to posting.
Okay, back to posting.
I'm not talking at you. I'm talking to you. I don't want to hear about you. I want to hear from you. 10-4. 10-4, buddies. Destroy. Kill all hippies.
I don't hate it. I just don't know why you're straight from the formula.
You bastards! You don't know it, Bob. I'm an artist. And I must reflect that in my rhyme.
I have a no listening to the podcast ever rule.
I mean, I agree that it should be part of canon films. What?
This is a movie about Dick.
What?
Oh my god.
I agree with you, Ken.
Anyway, Mike White, White Lotus, season 4. Hit me up, buddy.
What?
Letterbox is spying on you.